You're not becoming. You're remembering. What if I told you that nothing is missing? That the version of you who already lives everything you desire is not in the future. It's here, right now, waiting, not to be created, but to be remembered. You see, the world has taught you to strive, to reach, to believe that transformation is something you must earn. But the truth, your truth, is not found in effort. It's found in assumption, not in struggle, but in surrender to a deeper identity already breathing within you. Neville Goddard said it simply: assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But most misunderstand this. They assume the desire, but not the identity. They imagine the outcome, while still being the one who lacks it. And so life becomes an echo chamber of unfulfilled dreams, not because you're not worthy, but because you're still identifying as someone who waits instead of someone who is. You're not becoming anything. You're only shedding what you are not. You're not chasing the dream. You're dissolving the lie that you ever had to chase. And if that feels hard, it's not because you're wrong. It's because your nervous system has memorized limitation. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this hardwiring the past into the body. You wake up as yesterday. You breathe as fear. You think from survival. And then you wonder why your reality doesn't shift. But now, something deeper is awakening. A knowing. A memory. The remembrance that what you long for is not something you have to reach, but something you're ready to feel. The biggest block is never the world. It's not the money. It's not the timing. It's not even your doubt. The block is the habit of waiting to believe, of postponing embodiment until the evidence appears. But what if belief is not a reaction to reality? What if belief is the cause? This is what it means to inhabit the new state now, not as wishful thinking, not as delusion, but as alignment with the truth already written in your field. The fulfilled version of you is not a fantasy, it's a frequency, and imagination is the divine bridge. This is not about forcing outcomes. This is not about effort or hustle or pretending to be positive. This is about remembering who you really are, through the sacred technology of feeling. When you close your eyes and dwell in the scene of your fulfilled desire, you are not playing games with your mind. You are creating new circuits, firing and wiring a new self. You are activating the future by embodying it now. This is your invitation to stop chasing, to stop proving, to stop wondering if it will work for you, and instead, to feel it real. Because what you assume in silence becomes form in time. What you feel is true becomes your world. You're not here to learn how to become more. You're here to finally remember you already are. There's a reason you feel like you're always almost there. Like something invisible holds your progress just out of reach. And it's not because your vision is wrong or your practice is broken. It's because your identity is still speaking a language of lack, while your desire is written in the frequency of fulfillment. You may say you want abundance, love, clarity, but if your self-image is still echoing the past, the universe hears only the vibration of not yet. This is the contradiction few recognize. Wanting is often disguised resistance. It carries the subtle message, I don't yet have. And that message, repeated silently, becomes the architecture of your energetic field. You walk through the world as the one who wants, not as the one who already is. And that identity, of the seeker, the striver, the one still preparing, cannot unlock the door of what is already yours. Desire alone is not enough. The question is, who are you when no one is watching? What role do you silently play in the theater of your own mind? Are you the observer hoping life changes? Or the author who has already decided? Until your identity catches up with your desire, you'll always feel like you're chasing yourself in a dream. Because energy doesn't respond to effort, it responds to essence. And here's the essence. You've already become. You just haven't dared to see yourself as that yet. You're not a work in progress. You're a vibration in transition. But transition doesn't begin in the world. It begins in the mirror. The version of you who already has it lives behind your eyes. Look deeper. Begin speaking to yourself not as the one becoming, but as the one remembering. When you do this, you don't force manifestation. You remove the inner resistance that was disguising it. And suddenly, life doesn't need to catch up. It simply begins to reflect. The feeling is the secret, but you're feeling the wrong thing. You've heard it before. The feeling is the secret, But what if the feeling you've been nurturing isn't the one that creates? What if the emotion beneath your desire isn't possibility, but absence? Most people think they are feeling their dream into existence, but what they are really feeling is the ache of its distance. And that ache, repeated daily, becomes a silent affirmation of lack. Neville never said, "Feel the desire." He said, "Feel the wish fulfilled." That's a world apart, because desire, when it carries the undertone of separation, becomes the very vibration that delays what is already waiting to manifest. You may visualize, repeat affirmations, script your future, but if your body still feels the tension of waiting, it's not being tricked. It's being trained. Dr. Joe Dispenza reminds us that your body doesn't distinguish between a memory and a deeply imagined moment. If you close your eyes and truly embody the sensation of abundance, your nervous system responds as if it's happening now. Your breath slows, your heart opens, your chemistry shifts. But if your imagination is tainted with doubt, if your inner movie is tinged with the energy of "I hope this works," then your body knows. It doesn't surrender. It stays in survival. The secret is not feeling strongly. It's feeling correctly. Not the emotion of wanting, but the emotion of having. Not the high of fantasy, but the calm of certainty. The truth is, the fulfilled version of you feels peaceful, not excited, aligned, not desperate, present, not distracted. And when you begin to stabilize that state, when you rehearse not the outcome but the identity, your entire field begins to change. So ask yourself quietly, without judgment, what have I really been feeling? Have I been radiating the presence of the wish or the frustration of its absence? The answer doesn't condemn you. It frees you. Because once you see that the body follows the emotional signature, you stop trying to force results, and you begin to cultivate resonance. The feeling is the secret, but only when it belongs to the version of you that already knows. It is done. Beware of passive visualization. The mind can't be a tourist in its own future. There's a difference between imagining and entering, between picturing a new life and inhabiting it from within. Many people visualize daily. They close their eyes and see images, a house, a bank account, a moment of triumph. But what they don't realize is that they're still outside the scene, watching it, admiring it, even craving it, but not living it. The mind becomes a tourist in a future it hasn't claimed, and the body, sensing the detachment, remains unchanged. To visualize passively is to treat your dream like a movie. You observe, you project, but you don't merge. And that distance, though subtle, is enough to keep your reality anchored in the old frequency. Neville taught not just to see, but to be in, to feel from, not feel for. That means shifting from the sidelines to the center, not observing your new car, but gripping its wheel. Not looking at yourself being loved, but feeling the warmth of someone's presence as your own skin breathes it in. This is not about more vivid pictures. It's about deeper embodiment. The question is not, can I see it, but can I feel like I'm already inside it? Because reality is shaped not by fantasy, but by conviction. And conviction doesn't come from mental effort. It comes from emotional resonance, from stepping so fully into your inner world that the outer one has no choice but to follow. And here's the truth few admit. The universe doesn't respond to what you observe. It responds to what you accept. When you accept the imagined as your inner home, when you stop being a visitor and become a resident, the mirror of life shifts, not because you forced it, but because you finally moved in. You're not here to tour your desires. You're here to live them. Not later, not if, but now, from within, where it already exists. You can imagine every detail of the life you want, the place, the people, the emotions, and still feel nothing change. Because even in the most beautiful scenes, there's a pattern many carry without realizing it. They leave themselves out. They watch the dream unfold, but they're not in it. They create a vivid reality, then abandon their own presence inside it. It's like dreaming of a celebration and forgetting to invite your own soul. This subtle absence creates a rupture. You imagine love but forget to feel loved. You imagine wealth but forget to feel worthy. You imagine freedom but remain emotionally tethered to survival. The result is a beautiful fantasy that floats just above your head, close enough to glimpse but too far to grasp. And it's not because the scene isn't real, it's because you weren't there. Imagination is not a performance for the universe. It's a rehearsal of identity. It's not about creating something you hope arrives. It's about becoming someone who no longer doubts. But to become, you must enter. You must breathe through your own dream, not as observer but as protagonist, not as witness but as embodiment. There is a quiet technique that changes everything, seeing through your own eyes, not watching yourself from afar. When you stop picturing yourself as a character in a story and start feeling yourself inside the scene, touching the textures, hearing the sounds, breathing the air of the fulfilled moment, your imagination turns from idea into imprint. Your nervous system begins to memorize a new reality, and the old patterns, no longer rehearsed, begin to dissolve. This isn't about pretending, it's about returning to the center of your own vision, because until you include yourself as the emotional anchor of your dream, it remains incomplete. You are not here to imagine a better life from the outside. You are here to embody the truth that you belong inside it, fully, lovingly. Now, before we continue, pause for just a moment. If something in you is starting to shift, if a part of you feels seen in a way words can't quite explain, check the pinned comment below. What's there isn't just information. It's an echo of everything you've been feeling, but haven't yet said out loud. Take a look when you're ready. You'll know why. Now, let's return to the real reason your reality hasn't caught up with your vision. The world around you is not reacting to your words. It's responding to your essence, to the silent tone of who you believe yourself to be. And this happens not just in manifestation rituals or meditations, but in the small, unnoticed moments. When you walk into a room, when you answer the phone, when you look into someone's eyes, every interaction reflects the identity you've silently accepted as true. Neville understood this long before science gave it a name. The Pygmalion effect reveals that people behave in ways that confirm our assumptions. You think they don't see your worth, and they unconsciously mirror that. You expect rejection, and the energy of expectation draws it in. Not because life is cruel, but because life is a faithful echo. It cannot reflect what you do not project. But here is the shift. You can reprogram your identity in the mirror of your mind, not by affirming it with words alone, but by saturating your inner image with new assumptions. See yourself not as someone waiting to be valued, but as someone who already is. Not as someone hoping to be chosen, but as someone who walks with the quiet certainty of being worthy. That vibration speaks louder than effort, louder than charm, louder than fear. There is a story many have lived, often in silence. A story of feeling unseen, overlooked, dismissed. But that story begins to unravel the moment you stop asking the world to recognize you and begin recognizing yourself. The shift is not outside in, it's inside out. You don't become magnetic by proving your value. You become magnetic by no longer questioning it. Others can only respond to who you are being, not who you wish they'd see. And when who you are being is rooted in truth, in the image of someone already fulfilled, already loved, already enough, the world adjusts its behavior. It cannot help it, because the mirror has no choice but to reflect what you finally believe. You're asking from the past, not creating from the present. There's a kind of prayer that doesn't sound like begging, but still carries the energy of the wound. It's when you ask for more, but the voice beneath the words is still shaped by old pain. When your intention is pure, but its origin is still anchored in a timeline where you felt small, invisible, or not enough. And without realizing it, you're not creating your future, you're echoing your past. Desire is powerful, but its source matters. Because a dream rooted in fear of repetition becomes a loop. You think you're moving forward, but the energy behind your vision is trying to escape something old, not embrace something new. And manifestation doesn't work through escape. It works through presence, through the unwavering decision to choose who you are now, not who you were then. Many ask from the same place they were hurt. They visualize to avoid another disappointment. They affirm so they won't feel forgotten. But the frequency of avoidance is still fear. And fear cannot build the reality you want to live in. Not because you're wrong, but because fear doesn't hold the architecture of your future. Only truth does. The moment you stop asking from pain and begin creating from truth, everything begins to rewire. You're no longer trying to compensate. You're choosing to embody. You're no longer reacting to a timeline of lack. You're stepping into one of authorship. The story shifts not because your words changed, but because your origin did. And this is the quiet revolution, moving from a frequency of survival to a frequency of sovereignty. The moment you realize you're not trying to fix your life, you're ready to live it as if it's already whole. The past loses its grip. You stop pleading, you stop proving, and you begin to create, not from memory, but from presence, from the place where all things are possible. From the now, where you finally remember, I no longer ask to be rescued. I choose to be the one who creates. It's easy to think that imagination is enough, that closing your eyes, seeing the scene, and then letting it go is the formula. But something essential is often missing, something subtle, yet sacred. And it's this: you haven't truly felt it. You've pictured the moment, you've rehearsed the outcome, but your body hasn't surrendered to the vibration of it being real. And without that surrender, the scene remains just that, a picture, not a portal. Neville Goddard didn't just teach visualization. He taught the embodiment of the tones of reality, not just the image, but the weight of it, the texture, the sound, the breath that moves differently when you know it's already done. This is the difference between watching a dream and becoming the one who lives inside it, between mental rehearsal and cellular agreement. And this is where most stop short. They create an inner movie, but skip the moment where the body says, yes, where the breath slows, where the heart aligns, where the scene is no longer something you wish for, but something you feel in your skin, in your bones, in your pulse. This is the sacred threshold where imagination transforms from thought into frequency, from concept into embodiment. To feel it real is not an exaggeration. It is a return to your natural state of being in alignment with what is already yours. And this isn't done through force. It's done through presence, through breathing into the moment until the body relaxes into truth, until every cell begins to resonate with the version of you that has already arrived. The practice is not about more effort. It's about more depth. It's not about visualizing better. It's about inhabiting more fully. And when you begin to create an inner loop, a felt loop of breath, presence, and inner reality, your subconscious no longer sees it as foreign. It becomes familiar, and what is familiar becomes effortless. This is the practice most overlook, not because it's hidden, but because it's simple. Feel it real, until it feels like home, until it no longer feels like practice, because it has become who you are. Every thought you entertain carries a chemistry, every belief, a biology. The self-image you carry is not just an idea, it's a command to your cells. And this is why transformation doesn't begin with effort, but with identity. You don't wait for the body to feel safe before you believe you're secure. You believe, and the body follows. You don't wait to feel abundant after the evidence appears. You feel abundant, and the nervous system learns to trust the frequency of sufficiency. Dr. Joe Dispenza has shown us that when you mentally and emotionally rehearse a new self, you begin to build new circuits in the brain. But in the beginning, these circuits feel unfamiliar. They're not hardwired yet. And so the old identity pulls. It tries to reclaim you with habits that feel safe even when they're painful. You start to imagine wealth, but then worry shows up. You begin to feel love, and suddenly your past replays like a memory loop. This isn't failure. It's just the old self losing territory. Imagine a new pair of shoes. At first they're stiff, uncomfortable. You don't walk naturally in them yet. But the more you wear them, the more your body adjusts. You change your posture. Your stride shifts. Over time, they don't feel new anymore. They feel like yours. The same is true for identity. At first, the new belief feels like pretending. But if you rehearse it with emotion, with breath, with repetition, it stops being a thought and becomes a truth. The truth is, the body learns what the mind teaches it, not through logic, but through repetition and feeling. The more often you assume the vibration of your fulfilled self, not as fantasy but as daily inner posture, the more your biology begins to follow. Hormones change, brainwaves shift, behavior aligns, and slowly, without warning, you realize you've crossed a threshold. You no longer believe because you're trying to manifest. You believe because it's who you've become. And from that state, manifestation is no longer the goal. It's the consequence. The natural outflow of a self no longer doubting its own power. Most fail, because they try to deserve what must simply be assumed. There's a silent contract many carry, often without knowing it. A belief that says, if I do enough, if I heal enough, if I prove myself worthy enough, then maybe I'll be allowed to receive. This is the guilt trap, the unconscious idea that manifestation must be earned, that abundance must be deserved, that love must be traded for self-sacrifice. And it's this very belief that keeps the door closed to everything already prepared for you. Neville turned this idea on its head. He taught not to earn, but to assume, not to deserve, but to dwell, because the universe is not rewarding virtue. It is responding to vibration, and the vibration of someone trying to earn is always laced with the subtle signal of lack, of waiting, of not yet. It says, I'm not ready, I'm not there, I need to become better first. But the truth is, you were never asked to be better. You were asked to remember. This isn't about morality. It's about authorship. You are not a student hoping for approval. You are the writer of the scene. And the writer does not wait for permission. The writer chooses the role and becomes it. The shift happens when you stop using spiritual effort to try to be enough and begin embodying the quiet knowing, I already am. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. When you assume what you once thought you had to earn, you collapse the illusion of distance. You remove the barrier of delay, and suddenly, what once felt far becomes natural, not because you worked harder, but because you finally stopped asking if you were allowed. The soul doesn't seek permission, it radiates truth. So release the need to prove. Let go of the impulse to justify. Your worth was never on trial. The only question now is, are you ready to accept without apology, to receive without guilt, to dwell in the state of fulfillment, not because you deserve it, but because it's already yours? The answer isn't found in what you do. It's found in who you dare to be, and all you need to do is be it now, without waiting, without delay, without needing one more reason. You are not visualizing a thing. You are becoming a timeline. What if your desire is not an object to possess, but a version of yourself to inhabit? What if you're not meant to reach for a future, but to match it? Because true manifestation isn't about getting a thing. It's about becoming the one for whom that thing is already normal. You are not chasing a result. You are aligning with a frequency. And the frequency is not later. It's now. When Neville spoke of the wish fulfilled, he wasn't asking you to create a fantasy. He was asking you to embody a timeline, to step into a version of reality that already exists in the quantum field, and to choose it with your emotional signature. This is not metaphysical poetry. This is vibrational physics. You don't shift timelines with logic. You shift them with identity, with the decision to wear the state like a second skin, until it no longer feels like possibility. It feels like memory. And memory, when practiced deeply, becomes reality. The more you dwell in the scene of the fulfilled desire, not as something to hope for, but as something you've already come home to, the more your body begins to trust it. Your energy stabilizes. Your inner dialogue changes. Your reactions transform. Because you're no longer trying to create the future. You're remembering what has always been true beneath the noise. You can amplify this shift with what surrounds you. Let sound carry the vibration of your chosen life. Let scent awaken the memory of a timeline already real. Let clothing, posture, music, every small detail become a signal to your subconscious. It's done. Not because you've earned it, but because you've chosen to live inside it. You're not visualizing to get something. You're not imagining to escape what is. You are becoming the you that already exists in the now. Not a dream, a timeline. And the moment you saturate your senses, your breath, your emotion with that state, reality bends. Not to reward you, but to meet you. Because the universe doesn't follow wishes. It follows embodiment. And embodiment begins the moment you stop trying to attract and start allowing what already belongs to you. The wish fulfilled is not a place you visit. It's a skin you wear. You've walked with this desire for so long it's become part of you, etched into your thoughts, woven into your breath, echoing in every choice. You've visualized it in silence. You've affirmed it through doubt. You've held it close even when the world gave you every reason to let go. But here's the truth you've always sensed, even in your quietest moments. This desire is not asking you to chase it. It's asking you to become it. The wish fulfilled is not a future to reach. It's a version of you already present, waiting to be worn like skin. And yet most continue to approach manifestation like a place to arrive at someday, when they're finally worthy, finally ready, finally healed. But that approach keeps the dream distant. It turns your future into a fantasy rather than a frequency. And frequencies aren't something you go out and find. They're something you tune into, right now, right here. Neville Goddard's core teaching was never about effort. It was about identity. He said, "Dare to assume you are what you want to be." And to most, that sounds poetic. But it's far more than that. It's an invitation to collapse the illusion of time, to stop living in the tension of not yet. Because every time you imagine a better life while subtly anchoring your identity in lack, you reinforce separation. Every time you affirm abundance while emotionally identifying with scarcity, you strengthen the very state you long to leave behind. And this is where most become stuck, not because they're wrong or broken, but because they're still approaching transformation with the same posture they learned in survival. They wait for signs. They look for confirmation. They hesitate to fully believe because they don't want to be disappointed again. But here's the quiet paradox. You don't feel the wish fulfilled once it arrives. You feel it before. You feel it because you've chosen to believe the unseen as more real than the seen. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that when you mentally and emotionally rehearse a new version of yourself with enough repetition and depth, the body begins to believe it's already happening. And this is where the shift takes root, not in a passing visualization but in a steady embodiment. When the breath deepens, when the inner dialogue softens, when your nervous system stops asking for proof and starts resting in knowing, that's when reality bends, not through force but through resonance. You're not becoming someone else. You're remembering who you've always been beneath the programming, beneath the fear, beneath the layers of borrowed belief. And memory is powerful, especially sacred memory, the kind that lives not in the mind but in the soul, the kind that says, "I already am." And when you wear that memory like skin, when you stop stepping into your wish like a visitor and start inhabiting it like a home, everything around you begins to respond. The universe is not holding your dream hostage. It's simply mirroring your most dominant state of being. And if that state is still laced with effort, doubt, or anticipation, it reflects that back, not as punishment, but as precision, as vibrational law. And that's why the final transformation is never in the outer world. It's in the invisible moment you stop seeking and start accepting. When you realize this is not about deserving, it's about choosing. Not because you've earned it, but because the energy of embodiment is more powerful than the energy of pursuit. So how does this embodiment look? It's subtle, quiet, often invisible to the outside world. It's the way you hold yourself when no one is watching, the way you walk into a space without explaining yourself, the way you speak your truth without waiting for permission. It's in the way you respond to fear, not by resisting it, but by remembering that the version of you who has already arrived would feel it and still move forward. It's the way you hold the vision, not as something far, but as something familiar, something yours. And yes, the old self will resist. It will whisper doubts. It will point to the evidence of the past. It will ask, "But what if it doesn't work?" And in that moment, you don't fight it. You simply remember, you're not creating from the past. You're living from the end that already exists in the eternal now. The end that isn't a conclusion but a return, a coming home to the self you were always meant to be. This isn't performance. This isn't fantasy. This is sacred authorship. It's the still sovereign act of deciding, I no longer visit the life I desire. I dwell in it. And when I dwell in it, I no longer beg. I no longer wait. I no longer shapeshift to earn what's already mine. I breathe, speak, think, and choose from the version of me who already knows. I am the fulfillment. I am the answered prayer. I am the vibration that reshapes the world around me. So let this be the final reflection. The you who has it, who lives it, who radiates it, isn't far. That version is not waiting in some distant timeline. It's already alive in your field. And every time you feel it real, every time you embody it without apology, without delay, you draw it closer, not as a miracle, but as a law, as a remembrance, as the natural result of no longer separating yourself from what you've already become. You are not here to keep searching. You are here to recognize, to return, to to wear the life you were born to live. Not someday, but now. Because the wish fulfilled was never a place, it was always a state. And that state is already whispering, already breathing, already reaching for you, through every heartbeat that dares to say, "It is done." So before you go, pause. Feel what shifted inside you, not just as inspiration but as recognition. And if something in you wants to go further, not by effort, but by resonance, check the pinned comment. Not later. Now. There's something there your current self may not expect, but your fulfilled self already understands.